Thank you very much, dear speakers, that you now have taken place at our podium discussion. My name is Pierre. I'm the product manager healthcare in the DACH region, so I have the honor to guide the panel discussion or steer it a bit and ask the questions. Thank you very much that you have entered the questions in the QR code, which was in the brochure, I would call it. This helped us to ask a neutral question, because asking a question as an employee is sometimes a bit difficult as a moderator. So, first question to the podium. Any insight from you on how sustainability and carbon footprint initiatives of resin companies, so like you, can impact sustainability for customers in medical device area? It was no request who should answer. It's a broad question to all of you.
In principle, we showed that today with the presentation. We made intensive calculation how much CO2 can be saved. And from our point of view, Ineos Styrolution is only the first step. It's the beginning. There is more to do. Again, we can save the world immediately, but these are single steps where we start with. And coming back to my main topic point, it's a commitment from all of us to do that. So we started with that, we committed to that, we are doing that. Now it's up also to the rest to start doing something.
Okay. Pretty much the same. I mean, we've seen that if you are using more sustainable materials, be it recycled, be it biodegradable, be it a combination of those, that can really bring us forward. And in the end, I think the vision is pretty clear. We need circular economy. We can't incinerate all of the medical waste or deposit it. We can't achieve enough carbon reduction without circular economy. And on the other hand, we can't stay with fossil fuels for indefinite time. So making the transition towards recycling and other feedstocks, that's pretty crucial. And then I think we are pretty close to a net zero economy, because I mean, you can calculate it. You have residual emissions today of maybe 15 to 20% if you're good. And that's with potential. Most of the new materials, at least, they are in their technology S-curve somewhere in the steep part. So that there is a lot of room for improvement on technology side. And then we are down to, let's say, 5% of residual emissions maybe in 10, 15 years.
Maybe one more comment. We all working in the medical environment, we all are standing in front of the cliff. We only need to jump. That's the point. And who is the first one? And the only thing which really can hit us in the future is the regulatory, which is totally different of what we are currently doing. That's still an open question for us. But anyhow, we committed to start. We have done something. And now it's also up to the authorities to think about, does it all make sense? Is there something we want to regulate or not in terms of sustainable products?
Yeah. I mean, we have shown today. I mean, Styrolution, us, we have committed to propose more sustainable material. I mean, we are very committed to the net zero for 2050. We have now chemical recycling plants starting in 2026. So, I mean, we are proposing a lot of things on the market. Of course, you see a bit of resistance. I was showing in the poll that everyone is willing to have sustainable plan, but only 25% have make some improvement of our plan. So, yeah, I agree. This needs to move on together with the industry. That will be probably a long journey. On all LCA, for instance, we are also improving and having more and more data on life cycle analysis. I don't know if we talk, the digital product passport we are working on to get more traceability on the type of feedstock that we will use on recycle, on renewable feedstock. So you will have access of what is the real life cycle analysis of the product, just to avoid all this greenwashing that sometimes you see. So yeah, I mean, with what I've seen today, I mean, there is a lot of commitment, at least from the material plastic supplier, into sustainability.
I mean, coming at this from a distributor standpoint and not a manufacturer, I would have to say that it's quite clear that there isn't one solution to all of this. You know, we're not going to get our way out of this with bioattribution or just biopolymers or just using virgin polymers to replace engineering polymers. We have to really have those discussions at an early stage to deploy the most appropriate solution where we can. And I think, you know, what's been shown today is that communication and collaboration is key. We've got to be talking to each other. We've got to have an open mind, and we probably do need regulatory changes to kind of allow and adapt to the environment we're in now, to have a little bit more reality on how sustainability can go into healthcare and where we can actually get away with maybe introducing recycled materials where previously they'd been discounted.
Thank you very much for answering this.
Oh, small remark, as you mentioned, the LCA data that will be more and more prominent with product passes, for example. Stay critical of what guys like us tell you. Fortunately, none of the companies sitting here today or in the Ultrapolymers portfolio, but I've seen LCAs. You can't imagine, for example, for pyrolytic recycled polyolefins, where they take a recycling stream from fossil-based waste, basically, and they claim that they have a negative footprint of over 400 kilos per ton for a pyrolysis recycled polyolefin, where I say, how can that work in any kind of world? They are then giving themselves some bonuses for replacing other fuels and whatnot, but that's in the end greenwashing, I'd say. So be critical and challenge us with the solutions, and also the guys from Ultrapolymers, because I mean that ignites the discussions that we need to have to find out what's actually the needs for the product, what's actually in the life cycle, and then get a good solution.
One thing from my side, or in general, a few years ago, or since years, the industry is working on the topic, PVC replacement or replacing PVC because of the plasticizers. But there was the topic that as long as there's no the push from the governmental side that you have to change something, everyone is developing something and have it in the table and waiting until the government is coming. But do you think we need some initiatives or collaborations to tackle the governments to really get something changed, so that at the end everyone, so the brand owners, the manufacturers, the suppliers, are at the cliff and jump together? Because we are at the moment at the level that we're still alone, or a few people stand at the cliff and are ready, but there's not really the need to go or to change. So do you think, or are you aware about that these topics is managed or is given to the government, or some initiatives is working already on this topic?
I mean, regulation can help, of course, but I think one important aspect I was mentioning a bit during the presentation, our company, I'm not really involved in all this process, but we are working on all the decarbonation of our process. And you imagine, I mean, the site that we have been starting in the 70s, 80s. So I mean, there is a huge investment in the decarbonation. And if the states, if the European Commission or at European level don't support that or help us to go in that direction, that's going to be difficult. I don't think only regulation will be enough. I mean, there is huge investment behind the decarbonation. Decarbonation means, better carbon footprint, less CO2 emissions. So that's a lot. That has a very significant impact on the sustainability. And I mean, that's a bit personal also, but I think it's also the company view. I think the states, at European level, there needs to be more support in that direction, I think.
I mean, I think from my perspective, it's been addressed today. You know, the sustainable solutions aren't cheap solutions. You know, with design work, you know, Biovox have showed you can introduce sustainability, but there's still a 4% uptick in cost. If you're looking at mass balance solutions, there is a financial impact. And Bernd, you mentioned it in your question to Julian. For people will move for a very small amount of money in healthcare because of the sheer volumes, like PVC line sets. So there needs to be some kind of push from above to try and drive that change. Otherwise, people will have no reason to adopt it. So until there's a real push that comes in, be it regulatory, governmental, or something else, I think sustainable solutions are always going to be, as you say, Pierre, in the table or in people's back pocket, ready to deploy. I am seeing some companies and some customers who are willing to pioneer and want to pioneer on this. But to make sustainable solutions truly cost effective, it needs economies of scale. So, we need more and more of these solutions to be there regularly with better supply chains, better feedstocks, more cost-effective areas to actually allow you guys to adopt them in your businesses.
Yeah, of course, questions are also welcome from the audience.
A little bit back to the... thank you. For the mass balance theory, so if I get it right, seeing the production plant as a black box, there's a 90% normal material feed going in and 10% green feed going in, meaning that in a certificate you have 10% green feed going out and 90% normal feed going out.
I mean, Bernd, this is your wheelhouse when it comes to sustainability and bioattribution.
Yeah, in principle, like you explained, it's a little bit more. In our case, it's 60-70% of biofeedstocks and 40%. And for example, ISCC Plus is an official certification unit who is checking that. We can tell you whatever you want. You need somebody who confirms that, and that is ISCC Plus. So if we produce 100 tons of product, we know exactly 60 tons is bio-fossil feedstock, 40 tons is normal feedstock, exactly. And then you get a certificate, and also the customer who buys from these 100 tons, 20 tons or one full truck gets the bookmarking of this amount we added in there. It's in principle, again, a shift of certificates of credits. We are getting 60 credits for the bio feedstocks, and we are giving to that customer 20 credits. Means we still have 2.
I understand, but the raw material feed in, I assume, for the green is more expensive, so therefore also the raw material feed out for the green is more expensive.
Yeah. But finally, you don't see it. It could also be that you do not even receive the bio feedstock as hard granules at the end of the day. Could also be that this is 100% fossil based, but you're getting the credits.
I understand. That's the same as you said with the electricity. But if you have 10% in, it's maximum 10% out.
Yeah.
Understood.
Otherwise, you have a problem in a plant.
Yeah. Or a very efficient plant.
Or that. But quickly, I want to come back for this regulatory topic because I find it very interesting. Can we push it? I'm working in polycarbonate, or have worked for 22 years, and bisphenol was blamed since then, since the early 90s. Same with PVC. DEHP is the bad boy in the industry. This is often used from manufacturer, from competitors to blame other polymers, and I think this is not fair. They are tested in the industry for a very long time, investigated. The technologies to analyze critical substances, for example, have evolved and improved. So finally, you can nowadays measure differently than 20, 30 years ago. So we should, in principle, able to say this is a critical substance or not, and not remove it fully. For example, DEHP, everybody knows it should be out, but it prolongs the shelf life of the blood cells. Simple as that. So in blood bags, it's a different story. Same with PFAS. We say, oh, PFAS, all the bad guys, we have to remove them. Hey, fine, think a little bit different. We have to check in what kind of application. If you have a medical device housing, flame retardant, now you can't remove PFAS. That is currently impossible or very, very expensive. And here we're coming back to the price point. So regulatory is good to prove and check things, but I think they should be a little bit faster. I think the timeline, from my point of view, is too long. For sure, you need evidence at the end of the day, and then you have to really go into the industry and also see if that is possible. I've seen values for bisphenol A, which is impossible to produce. They just reduce by a factor 10,000 the detection limit, and it's impossible to reach that. And it's still on the market, and it will be with PVC the same, as long as it's cheap, and as the authority will not say we have to stop it now, and bringing the evidence to each and everybody. So here, regulatory support would definitely help.
Thank you very much, Bernd, and the audience. Regarding, we had the topic with greenwashing, and the topic mass balance is at some customers not that well seen. I would call it in this way. Are there any other solutions? Of course, we have the biopolymers as alternatives from Biovox, but also from LyondellBasell and Ineos Styrolution. When you speak, we have this mass balance C14, where you really have this classified content. Are they also available for the medical grades? And of course, we go down to the polymer side on the ethylene, styrene level. Can you guarantee that there are no differences? And if yes, how do you guarantee that there are no difference between a fossil feedstock and a bio feedstock?
I can speak for us again, sorry. We are looking very deep into the styrene, which is our feedstock. And we have several values because we are sending an equivalency letter to the customer. And we are quite often challenged, what does equivalency mean? What are your measurement points here? And it's our IP. We cannot go in detail, but for sure we will checking different points of this structure of the monomer and compare that. And we are not seeing any difference there. And this is how we define evidence.
Yeah, so in the presentation, I've been mentioning the mass balance, and I mean, all the industry is going in that direction, because you imagine it's a small amount of the bio feedstock that we are using today compared to the fossil. So that's why the industry is going into that direction. We are also, for certain product, but it's a bit limited, we can do kind of bio-certified content. But it's very limited to a certain number of products, because of course you need to have the right setup in the plant, you need to, and it's a bit complex, you need to segregate the land. So, I mean, we can have a discussion directly, I mean, with you, or through, of course, via Ultrapolymer, if you have a need into that, that's possible, but again, not on all the product portfolio. And in the same time, of course, because we have this bio-certified, we have, I mean, bio, let's say, content that we can measure, we have also done all kind of analysis to show that it's the same. And we went even further, going to the extractable. You know, these are all very important data for the pharmaceutical industry. So we are generating a lot of data, and that show that we are very similar, or I mean, the variation is the range batch to batch. So to show that there is no difference between a bio feedstock and a fossil feedstock.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I'd say there's still a pretty poor understanding generally in the industry of what all of these terms mean. And they're typically conflated, where you'll say bioattribution, mass balance, bio-based, you know, LCAs. Everything is not particularly clear at the moment. And I think, you know, it's the same discussions we maybe even had 2 or 3 years ago, that there's still a pretty low level of education generally, or a level of understanding, certainly with the general public, where you're trying to sell a solution which maybe has a cost premium. If the general public don't understand it, they won't really buy into it. And we see that with, you know, standard mechanical recycling. People understand what that means. It's take your waste, chop it up, sell it back to you. That's easy. That's logical. Bioattribution is a little bit more complicated and a little bit more of a nuanced discussion. So again, you know, that's where, as industry influencers and suppliers, we need to try and help get that message out, to try and build a better understanding, not only to help introduce our solutions and these solutions to the industry, but also just to generally up the level of understanding of how we can add sustainability into healthcare.
Thank you very much for the answer. I think
I actually had a question just about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a question just about that, because to your point, I think a lot of business leaders
know a bit about plastic industry and sustainability, but it's the jungle metaphor, right? That I'm experiencing in the company that I work for. So my question was actually, how can, you know, this forum of industry leaders help medtech companies to pitch better sustainability within the medtech companies? Are there useful links? Maybe Plastic Europe is one of the how you call it, branch organizations. Is there a one-size-fits-all type of approach of how you can successfully, of course there isn't, but how you could try to pitch those ideas better to make them more visible or more sense of urgency to create this better?
I mean, from my perspective, you know, I know, Julian, I think on one of your slides that you had the BioWiki, which is looking to do the same thing. We're creating a course about introducing sustainability and talking about some of the key terms just to try and help an understanding. But in reality, I think from an industry standpoint, we need to all make sure that we're talking the same language and that we're clear. And I think one of the challenges is, you know, different businesses use different terminologies, as you said, regarding data. And I think we're relatively, as a group here, relatively consistent in the terminology that we use. But it's a very big industry. There's a lot of different parties involved. So, you know, how can we do it? I think it's a case of keeping it simple and just try and be very to the point. The details are key, as you said, challenge everything. But I think we need to just try and keep the message very simple at the start and then build on it when the understanding's there.
And also, as I had in the model before, I wouldn't say that there is the general approach on a high level and you can make it more understandable by that. Of course, there's general education. You need to know some basics. But in the end, it's similar in every company, but it's not the same in every company. And from my perspective, and I've done change management and making a whole portfolio of a big corporation future-proof in my last job, you need interdisciplinary teams. From the company, need all stakeholders and decision makers in the company, and you need to really dig through the pain points that they have. Because, I mean, that's pretty easy. If I talk to sales guys, they are all, hey, that's great, I got a new product, it's more sustainable, I can go to the customer once more, and that's something that everybody likes. Even if they don't buy it, I am in discussions with them. That's great. Sales always on board, basically. If that's management, then it depends a bit on costs and risk management, etc. If it's R&D guys, they are all, oh, that's a new material, I want to try that out. Can I have some samples and I'll produce something? And quality management, oh, it's a new material, I don't want that. I mean, you have the different stakeholders and addressing all of the issues that you could possibly have. Cycle times for productions, quality management, the different material, etc. Bring all of them together, see what's their pain points, and then have a look at sustainable solutions and how to address that, and if it's a win overall for the company or not. Because if you are taking the decisions more or less democratically, or at least transparent, so that everybody knows why the decision is taken and that you have a data foundation behind that, then that's easier. We have customers, we are working together with a LCA agency, also a startup that specialized in medtech, since we've introduced them and they now have some good insights. And that's the approach that they are always doing, finding the hotspots together with all of the people. Then we are looking at what's the strengths and the weaknesses of the solutions. And if everybody understands what's happening, then the chances are much higher that you can succeed with that. And that's really on a working level in the companies and keeping the decision makers in the companies informed. And that works quite well from my experience.
Another point would be that you have some dedicated teams in your companies. Minimum 2, 3, 4 people who really understand the main things of sustainability. How is it calculated? What kind of processes are available? These are the basics. You have to be understood. And even more than one person, because otherwise it's like we say in German, stille Post. You start telling something and at the end, totally different story occurs. So you have a small team understanding what's going on, and then you have to share this message inside your company with your experts, and also talk to other experts from the plastic industry or whatsoever. It starts with the calculation you have seen, or we discussed that, CO2 footprint calculation. It should be harmonized. It should everybody the same. If you compare an RBS with an RBS, the numbers should be somehow similar, and not one can save 70% and 120, because he is calculating totally different. And that's what we've seen. And then a purchaser comes, oh, I can save more CO2 with this grade, but it was calculated totally different. And here it starts. You need to know the basics in your team and then really try to train the higher levels. And believe me, as higher you come, as more complex it will be. To train them.
So unfortunately, Bernd and Julian, you took over my last question. What kind of advice would you give the audience to become more sustainable?
Answered already.
More or less answered. But of course, Mathieu and Richard, do you have any advice you would like to add?
Jump into the swimming pool and swim, no? Yeah, I mean, of course, you need to inform, to explain. I mean, we had all this discussion. I mean, mass balance, I have to say, when this mass balance was presented some years ago, I mean, for me also, it was a bit difficult to understand what do we want. But after you realize that I'm explaining, today it's a small part of all the feedstock that we are using. That's why we use the mass balance. If tomorrow, of course, we manage to move to maybe a plant to biofeedstock or to recycle plastic waste, of course you can, forget about mass balance, and maybe this is becoming 100% coming from the feedstock that you have selected. But I mean, all that need indeed explanation, and maybe this forum helps, other association can help, I think. And of course, in the company that you have dedicated team working on sustainability, that helps. We have a change in the company from with the new CEO. He's very focused on sustainability. He wants us to be a leader in the sustainability team. And of course, he has created a business unit that was not existing before. We have much more employees working on sustainability before. Of course, that's help, and that means the topic is taken seriously by the management. So,
thank you. Richard, do you want to end it?
So, yeah, I suppose my simple one is just talk, communicate, have those discussions internally, have those discussions with as many different parties as you possibly can. You know, the people on this panel, Ultrapolymers, colleagues or peers in the industry. Because we are at an inflection point where either regulatory is going to push this or general public perception is going to push it. So it's better to get started now and have a good understanding of it and try and make the positive change than wait until being one of the last to get onto that train. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.